The airplane cabin hummed with the low drone of engines. But for Alex Harper, the noise was drowned out by the piercing glares of strangers. He sat in first class. His 3-year-old son, Noah, curled against his chest, tiny fingers clutching his shirt. Alex's heart raced not from the flight, but from the weight of judgment boring into him from every angle. It started with a whisper. A woman in a crisp blazer, seated across the aisle, leaned toward her companion, her voice sharp enough to cut through the cabin's hum. 2 men with a kid. In first class. That's not right. Her words slithered into Alex's ears, each syllable a needle. He tightened his grip on Noah, whose soft snores were the only thing grounding him. Beside him, his husband, Jamie, stiffened, his jaw clenching as he pretended to read the in-flight magazine. Alex wasn't new to this. Growing up in small-town Ohio, he'd heard every slur, endured every sideways glance. But this was different. This was his son, and Jamie's son nestled in his arms, innocent and unaware of the venom directed at their family. They'd fought for years to build this life, adoption battles, legal fees, sleepless nights wondering if love would be enough. And now, on a flight from New York to Los Angeles, their joy was under siege again. The woman's companion, a man with a slicked-back haircut and a Rolex glinting under the cabin lights, chuckled. Probably some liberal stunt. He muttered, loud enough for Alex to hear. Jamie's hand twitched, but Alex shot him a look. Not now. They'd learned to pick their battles. Still, the words burned. Alex's mind flashed to the adoption hearing, the judge's skeptical frown, the endless questions about stability and traditional values. They'd won that fight, but the scars lingered. Noah stirred, his small body warm against Alex's chest. Alex kissed the top of his son's head, inhaling the faint scent of baby shampoo. He wouldn't let these strangers ruin this moment. Not today. They were flying to LA for Noah's first visit to his grandparents, Jamie's parents, who'd embraced them despite their own conservative roots. It was supposed to be a celebration, not a battlefield. The flight attendant, a young woman with a bright smile, approached. "Can I get you anything, sir?" she asked, her eyes flicking to Noah with genuine warmth. Alex relaxed slightly, grateful for a kind face. "Just water. Thanks," he said softly. She nodded and moved on. But the woman in the blazer scoffed. "Figures they'd get special treatment," she hissed to her companion. Jamie's patience snapped. "Excuse me," he said, his voice low but firm, turning to face her. "Is there a problem?" The woman's eyes widened, caught off guard, but she recovered quickly. "This is first class," she said, her tone dripping with disdain. "It's for professionals. Not whatever this is." She gestured vaguely at Alex and Noah. Alex's stomach churned. He wanted to disappear, to shield Noah from this ugliness. But Jamie leaned forward, his voice steady. "This is our son. We paid for these seats. If you have an issue, take it up with the airline." The woman's face reddened, but she didn't back down. "It's just not appropriate," she said. "A child needs a mother." The words hit like a punch. Alex felt the air leave his lungs. He'd heard it all before, but hearing it directed at Noah, their family, made his vision blur with rage. Jamie opened his mouth to respond, but the flight attendant reappeared, sensing the tension. "Is everything okay here?" she asked, her tone professional but edged with concern. The woman in the blazer smirked, just wondering why they get to parade their lifestyle in everyone's faces. The flight attendant's smile faltered. But before she could respond, another passenger, a middle-aged man in a suit 2 rows back, chimed in. Yeah, keep that stuff in, coach. First class is for people who earned it. Alex's hands trembled. He wanted to scream, to tell them they'd worked harder than anyone in this cabin to be here. Jamie, a pediatric nurse, spent his days saving children. Alex, a freelance graphic designer, had built a career from nothing, clawing his way out of a town that told him he'd never amount to anything. They'd earned every inch of this life, every moment with Noah. But the words wouldn't come. Instead, he focused on Noah, stroking his son's back, willing himself to stay calm. The flight attendant, visibly uncomfortable, said, "Let's all keep this respectful, please." But the damage was done. The cabin felt like a pressure cooker, every eye on them, every whisper a blade. As the plane climbed higher, Alex's mind raced. He couldn't let this go. Not for himself, not for Jamie, and definitely not for Noah. They deserved better. He glanced at Jamie, whose eyes burned with the same resolve. They weren't just fighting for their family, they were fighting for every family like theirs. Every kid who deserved to grow up knowing love was enough. By the time the plane touched down in LA, Alex had a plan. It wasn't about revenge, though the thought was tempting. It was about justice, about showing the world that their family wasn't a mistake, wasn't a spectacle. It was about making sure no one else had to endure what they did in that cabin. He didn't know it yet, but by the end of this trip, every person who judged them would face consequences they couldn't imagine. And it all started with a single, quiet decision to fight back. Not with anger, but with truth. The Los Angeles airport was a blur of noise and motion, but Alex barely noticed. Noah clung to his neck, still groggy from the flight, while Jamie wheeled their carry-ons through the terminal. The sting of the first-class cabin lingered, a bruise on Alex's heart. He could still hear the woman's voice, "A child needs a mother," and the smug agreement from the man in the suit. It wasn't just their words. It was the way they'd looked at Noah, like he was a prop in some political argument. Outside, the California sun was relentless, but it couldn't warm the chill in Alex's chest. Jamie's parents, Ellen and Tom, were waiting at the curb in their old blue minivan. Ellen's face lit up when she saw Noah, her arms outstretched. "There's my favorite grandson," she called, pulling him into a hug. Noah giggled, oblivious to the tension his dads carried. Tom clapped Jamie on the shoulder, his eyes kind but searching. "Rough flight?" he asked. Jamie forced a smile. "You could say that." Alex stayed quiet, his mind already turning over the plan he'd hatched mid-flight. He wasn't sure how to pull it off yet, but he knew one thing. Those passengers' cruelty wouldn't go unanswered. Not this time. At Ellen and Tom's cozy Pasadena home, the evening was filled with Noah's laughter and the smell of Ellen's homemade lasagna. But Alex couldn't relax. While Noah played with a pile of wooden blocks, Alex pulled Jamie into the kitchen. "We need to do something," he said, his voice low but urgent. "Those people, they didn't just insult us. They insulted Noah. Our family." Jamie nodded, his eyes dark with the same anger Alex felt. "I know. But what can we do? They're strangers. We don't even know their names." Alex pulled out his phone, his fingers steady despite the fire in his chest. "We don't need their names yet. We have something better." During the flight, Alex had discreetly snapped a photo of the woman in the blazer and her companion, their faces clear in the frame. He'd also noted the seat numbers of the man in the suit and another passenger who joined in with a snide comment. It wasn't much, but it was a start. The airline has their information, Alex said, and I'm betting at least one of them is someone important. People like that don't sit in first class unless they've got money or connections. Jamie frowned, hesitant. What are you thinking? A complaint? A lawsuit? We don't have the resources for that. Alex shook his head. Not a lawsuit. Exposure. They thought they could shame us in public. Let's see how they like it when the world knows who they are. That night, after Noah was tucked into a guest room crib, Alex sat at the kitchen table with his laptop. He started by drafting a post for X, careful to keep it factual but raw. Today, my husband and I were shamed in first class for being gay dads. He wrote, our son was asleep in my arms, and strangers called our family inappropriate. They said a child needs a mother. We need to talk about this. He attached the photo, blurring the faces for now, and tagged the airline. Before hitting post, he showed it to Jamie. This could backfire, Jamie warned, his voice soft. People online can be brutal. Alex nodded, his throat tight. I know. But if we stay silent, nothing changes. Noah deserves to grow up in a world where he's not judged for who his parents are. Jamie squeezed his hand. Okay. Let's do it. Alex hit post. And within minutes, the notifications started. Comments. Likes. Shares. People were listening. Some responses were ugly, as Jamie feared, but others were supportive, heartfelt. A few even shared similar stories. Alex felt a spark of hope. This wasn't just their fight anymore. By morning, the post had gone viral. News outlets picked it up, and the airline issued a public apology, promising to investigate. Alex's inbox was flooded with messages, some from allies, some from trolls. But one stood out, a DM from a woman named Sarah, claiming to be a journalist. I can help you find out who those passengers were, she wrote. I have contacts at the airline. Are you in? Alex's pulse quickened. He hadn't expected this. He showed the message to Jamie, who looked wary but nodded. If we're doing this, we do it right, Jamie said. No lies. No exaggeration. Just the truth. Alex agreed. They replied to Sarah, setting up a call for the next day. As the week unfolded, Alex and Jamie settled into a routine with Noah, who loved his grandparents' backyard and their endless supply of cookies. But Alex's mind was never far from the fight. Sarah came through with names. The woman in the blazer was Karen Whitmore, a corporate lawyer at a high-profile firm. Her companion was her husband, Greg, a hedge fund manager. The man in the suit was Daniel Kessler, a VP at a tech company. The fourth passenger, a quieter voice in the shaming, was Emily Chun, a marketing executive. Each name was a piece of the puzzle. Alex didn't want revenge, he wanted accountability. These people had power, influence. They'd used it to belittle his family in front of strangers. Now, he'd use their own visibility against them. Sarah's next message was a game changer. Karen and Greg are big donors to a conservative advocacy group. She wrote, they've been vocal about traditional family values. Kessler's company has a diversity policy he clearly doesn't follow. Chen's firm is pitching a major client who prioritizes inclusivity. This could get interesting. Alex felt a surge of adrenaline. This wasn't just about one flight anymore. It was about exposing hypocrisy, about showing the world that hate had consequences. He and Jamie spent hours strategizing, careful to stay ethical. They'd share the truth, Nothing more. But the truth, Alex knew, could be a powerful weapon. The Pasadena morning was quiet, save for Noah's giggles as he chased a butterfly in the backyard. Alex watched from the porch, his coffee growing cold. His phone buzzed relentlessly, notifications from X, emails from supporters, and a new message from Sarah. "Check this out," she wrote, attaching a link to a news article. The headline read, "Airline faces backlash after gay dads shamed in first class." Alex's post had ignited a firestorm, and the airline was scrambling. Jamie joined him, reading over his shoulder. "This is bigger than I thought," he said, his voice a mix of awe and worry. Alex nodded. "It's not just about us anymore. People are angry. They want change." He felt a strange mix of pride and pressure. Their story was resonating, but the stakes were higher now. One wrong move, and they could lose the support they'd gained. Sarah's call came that afternoon. Her voice was sharp, professional, but warm. "I've got more on your passengers," she said. "Karen Whitmore's firm is panicking. They're getting calls from clients threatening to pull out over her comments. Greg's hedge fund is distancing itself, but he's doubling down on X, calling it a freedom of speech issue. Kessler's company is investigating him internally. Chen's keeping quiet, but her LinkedIn shows she's up for a promotion. This could tank her." Alex scribbled notes, his mind racing. "What's our next step?" he asked. Sarah paused. "You've got options. You can go public with their names, but that's risky legal pushback, harassment. Or you can work behind the scenes. I can connect you with advocacy groups who can pressure their employers quietly. It's slower, but safer." Jamie, listening on speaker, chimed in. "We don't want to ruin lives. We just want them to understand what they did." Sarah agreed. "Then let's start with the airline. They've got the passenger manifest and incident reports. I can push for a formal investigation, but you'll need to file an official complaint. It'll give you leverage." That night, Alex and Jamie drafted the complaint, detailing every word, every glance, every moment of humiliation. They included the flight attendant's kindness. Too, she deserved credit. They sent it to the airline and shared a redacted version online, careful not to reveal names yet. The response was immediate, thousands of shares. Messages from other LGBTQ+ families. Even a few celebrities weighing in. The airline issued another statement, promising swift action. But the real breakthrough came 2 days later. Sarah called with news. Karen Whitmore had been suspended pending an ethics review. Her firm's biggest client, a tech giant, had threatened to drop them unless they addressed her discriminatory behavior. Greg was under fire. Two his hedge fund's investors were pulling out, spooked by the bad press. Kessler's company had launched a full investigation, and Chen's promotion was on hold. Alex felt a flicker of satisfaction, but it was bittersweet. He didn't want to destroy these people, just make them see the harm they'd caused. He thought of Noah, playing carefree in the backyard, unaware of the storm his dads were navigating. This was for him, for every kid who deserved to grow up without shame. The next morning, Ellen sat them down. "I'm proud of you both," she said, her eyes misty. "But be careful. People like this don't go down quietly." Alex nodded, knowing she was right. Karen and Greg were already pushing back online, painting themselves as victims of a woke mob. Kessler had hired a PR firm, and Chun had gone silent, likely lawyering up. Alex's resolve hardened. He and Jamie met with an advocacy group Sarah recommended. a national LGBTQ plus organization with legal muscle. They agreed to help, connecting Alex with a lawyer named Maria who specialized in discrimination cases. Maria was blunt but kind. "You've got a strong case," she said. "The airline's liable for not intervening effectively. And these passengers, their employers are terrified of the PR fallout. We can use that." Over the next few days, Alex and Jamie worked with Maria to build a strategy. They'd focus on the airline first, demanding training for staff and a public commitment to inclusivity. For the passengers, they'd push for accountability, public apologies, donations to LGBTQ plus causes, or job consequences if their employers deemed it necessary. It wasn't about revenge. It was about setting a precedent. By the end of the week, the airline agreed to meet with them. The meeting was set for the following Monday in LA, with the advocacy group present. Alex felt a surge of hope, but also dread. This was real, now confronting the system, the people who'd tried to diminish them. He looked at Noah, asleep in Jamie's arms, and knew they couldn't back down. As they prepared, Alex got a call from an unexpected ally, the flight attendant from the plane, Lauren. She'd seen their post and wanted to help. "I saw everything," she said. "I'm willing to testify if you need me." Her voice was steady, brave. Alex felt tears prick his eyes. They weren't alone in this fight. The weekend passed in a blur of planning and playing with Noah, who was oblivious to the storm brewing. On Sunday night, Alex lay awake, Jamie's arm draped over him. "Are we doing the right thing?" he whispered. Jamie kissed his forehead. "We're doing it for Noah. That's all that matters." Monday loomed, and with it, the chance to turn their pain into change. Alex didn't know how it would end, but he knew one thing: they'd fight with everything they had. The airline's Los Angeles office was a sterile glass box, all sharp angles and corporate polish. Alex and Jamie sat across from a trio of executives, their lawyer Maria beside them. Noah was with Ellen, safe from the tension in the room. The lead executive, a woman named Cynthia with a tight smile, opened with an apology. "We're deeply sorry for your experience," she said. "We're committed to making this right." Alex wasn't buying the rehearsed sincerity. He leaned forward, his voice steady. "Your crew did nothing while we were humiliated. You let those passengers attack our family in front of everyone." Jamie nodded, his hand resting on Alex's knee. "We're not here for apologies. We want change." Maria laid out their demands: mandatory inclusivity training for all staff, a public statement condemning discrimination, and a review of how complaints are handled in flight. The executives exchanged glances, clearly uneasy. Cynthia promised to escalate their requests, but Alex sensed resistance. They weren't used to being challenged like this. Outside, a small crowd of supporters had gathered, organized by the advocacy group. Signs read, "Love is not a crime," and "Protect all families." The sight bolstered Alex's courage, but it also drew counter-protesters, a handful of angry faces shouting about family values. Jamie squeezed his hand. "Ignore them," he whispered. "We've got this." Back at the house, Alex checked X. Their story was everywhere: national news, talk shows, even a viral video from a queer influencer calling out the passengers' hypocrisy. Karen Whitmore's suspension had made headlines, and Greg's hedge fund was bleeding clients. Kessler's company had issued a statement distancing itself from his actions, hinting at further steps. Chun, still silent, was reportedly under review. But the backlash was growing too. Karen and Greg had rallied supporters online, framing themselves as victims of cancel culture. A conservative news outlet ran a piece calling Alex and Jamie bullies who'd weaponized their kid. Alex's stomach twisted as he read the comments, hateful, vile words aimed at his family. He shut his laptop, his hands shaking. Jamie found him on the porch, staring at the stars. "You okay?" he asked, sitting close. Alex shook his head. "What if we're making things worse? For Noah. For us." Jamie pulled him into a hug. "We're showing him it's okay to stand up. That's what parents do." The next day, Lauren, the flight attendant, met them for coffee. She was nervous but resolute. "I saw how those passengers treated you," she said. "The woman Karench demanded I move you to coach. I refused, but I should have done more." Alex was stunned. "You did enough," he said. "You're here now?" Lauren offered to provide a written statement for the airline's investigation, detailing everything she'd witnessed. It was a small victory, but it felt huge. Maria called with an update. The airline had agreed to their demands, including a $50,000 donation to an LGBTQ plus youth charity. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. More importantly, the passenger manifest had been cross-referenced with Lauren's statement, confirming the identities of Karen, Greg, Kessler, and Sean. The airline promised to ban them from future flights, pending the investigation's outcome. But Alex wanted more than bans. He wanted accountability that stung. With Maria's help, they drafted letters to the passengers' employers, outlining their behavior and its impact. They didn't demand firings that wasn't their style, but they made it clear that silence wasn't an option. "These people represent your companies," the letters read. "Their actions reflect on you." The response was swift. Karen's law firm announced her termination, citing conduct incompatible with our values. Greg's hedge fund followed, quietly letting him go to avoid further investor backlash. Kessler's company placed him on indefinite leave, and Shin's promotion was officially canceled, with rumors she'd resigned. Alex felt a strange mix of relief and unease. They'd won, but at what cost? He didn't want to be the guy who ruined lives. Yet every time he looked at Noah, playing with his toy planes, he knew this wasn't just about them. It was about every family who'd been shamed, every kid who'd been told their parents were wrong. That night, Ellen hosted a small barbecue, a chance to breathe. Friends from the advocacy group joined, toasting to their progress. Noah ran around with a sparkler, his laughter cutting through the tension. But Alex's phone buzzed with a new thread, a message from Greg, forwarded through Sarah. "You'll regret this." It read, "I know people." Jamie saw the message and paled. "He's bluffing," he said, but his voice wavered. Alex wasn't so sure. People like Greg didn't lose quietly. They'd stirred a hornet's nest, and the fight was far from over. As the week ended, Alex and Jamie prepared to fly home. The airline offered them complimentary first-class seats, but Alex declined. "We'll sit in coach," he said. "With our son." It wasn't about the seats, it was about reclaiming their dignity. The return flight loomed, and with it, the weight of what they'd started. They'd taken down giants, but the cost was still unclear. Alex held Noah close, whispering, "We're doing this for you." Whatever came next, they'd face it together. The return flight to New York was quieter, but Alex's nerves were raw. Coach was cramped, but Noah's chatter about planes and clouds kept him grounded. Jamie scrolled through X, reading messages of support that poured in daily. "Look at this one," he said. showing Alex a post from a single mom. "Your courage gave me hope." "Thank you." Alex smiled. But Greg's threat, I know people, echoed in his mind. Back home in Brooklyn, their apartment felt like a sanctuary. Noah's toys littered the floor, and the familiar creak of the hardwood was a comfort. But the world outside was still buzzing. Their story had sparked a movement, with hashtags like Love in First Class trending. Advocacy groups were pushing for anti-discrimination laws, and the airline's training program was set to launch nationwide. Yet the backlash hadn't stopped. Greg had hired a lawyer, claiming defamation. Karen was giving interviews to conservative outlets, painting herself as a martyr. Kessler had gone quiet, but rumors swirled that he was planning a lawsuit. Chun, surprisingly, reached out through Maria with a private apology, admitting she'd been caught up in the moment. Alex wasn't sure if he believed her, but it was something. Maria met them at a local cafe to strategize. "Greg's lawsuit is a long shot," she said, sipping her espresso. "He has no case unless he can prove you lied, which you didn't. But we need to be ready. He's got money and connections." Alex nodded, his stomach tight. "What about the others?" Jamie asked. Maria smirked. "Karen's career is toast. Her firm's clients are fleeing. Kessler's company is in damage control. They might settle to avoid a PR nightmare. Chin's the wild card. Her apology could be genuine, or she's just covering her tracks." That night, Alex couldn't sleep. He sat at his desk, sketching a logo for a new client. But his mind wandered. He thought of his own father, a man who'd never accepted him, who'd called his life a choice. He thought of Noah, who'd grow up knowing he was loved, no matter what. This fight wasn't just about the flight, it was about breaking a cycle. The next morning, a surprise arrived, a letter from the airline, hand-delivered. It detailed their new inclusivity policy, named the Harper Initiative after Alex and Jamie. It included mandatory training, a zero-tolerance policy for discrimination, and a partnership with their advocacy group. Enclosed was a check for $10,000. A gesture of goodwill. Alex stared at it, stunned. Jamie laughed softly. "Guess we're making waves." But the victory felt fragile. Greg's lawyer sent a cease and desist letter, demanding they retract their ex-post. Maria laughed it off, "It's posturing," she said, but Alex felt the pressure mounting. He and Jamie decided to double down, working with Sarah to publish a follow-up article titled, "Our Family Was Shamed, Here's Why We Fought Back." It detailed their experience and the systemic issues it exposed. They included Chen's apology, anonymized, to show that change was possible. The article hit like a thunderbolt. Major news outlets ran it, and public support surged. A petition for stronger airline protections gained 100,000 signatures in days. But so did the hate. Their mailbox was stuffed with anonymous letters, some supportive, others vicious. One called Noah a pawn. Alex burned it in the sink, his hands shaking with rage. Jamie found him there, tears streaking his face. "We can't let them win," Jamie said, pulling him close. "They want us to hide." "We won't." Alex nodded, wiping his eyes. "For Noah," he said. They agreed to keep fighting, but with boundaries: no more late-night X-scrolling, no more reading hate mail. They'd focus on the good, the families inspired. The policies changed. A week later, Sarah called with big news. "Kessler's out," she said. His company fired him after an internal review. They found emails where he mocked diversity policies. It's over for him. Alex exhaled, relief washing over him. 3 down. 1 to go. Greg was the last holdout, his lawsuit looming like a storm cloud. But something else was brewing. Lauren, the flight attendant, had started a support group for airline staff to share stories of passenger discrimination. She invited Alex and Jamie to speak at their first meeting, held virtually. Over 50 employees joined, sharing their own experiences, racial slurs, homophobic comments, ableist remarks. Alex realized their fight was part of something bigger, a push to make travel safer for everyone. As the meeting ended, Lauren pulled them aside. "I'm proud of you," she said, "and I'm sorry I didn't do more that day." Alex shook his head. "You're doing it now? That's what counts." She smiled, tears in her eyes, and promised to keep pushing for change from the inside. Back home, Noah climbed into Alex's lap, holding a crayon drawing of their family, 2 dads, a little boy, and a plane in the sky. "For you," he said, grinning. Alex's heart swelled. This was why they fought. Not for revenge, not for fame, but for a world where Noah could be himself, unashamed. Greg's lawsuit was the final hurdle. Maria was confident, but Alex knew it wouldn't be easy. As they prepared for the legal battle, he felt a quiet strength. They'd already changed so much. Whatever came next, they were ready. The Brooklyn autumn was crisp, leaves crunching underfoot as Alex pushed Noah's stroller through Prospect Park. Jamie walked beside him, their hands brushing a small act of defiance after months of scrutiny. Their fight had reshaped their lives, turning their quiet family into a symbol of resilience. But Greg's lawsuit hung over them, a shadow they couldn't shake. Maria met them at their apartment, her briefcase stuffed with legal documents. "Greg's case is weak," she said, spreading papers across the dining table. "He's claiming defamation. But your ex-post was factual, and you didn't name him publicly. His lawyer's banking on intimidation." Alex frowned. "He's got money. Can he drag this out?" Maria nodded. "He can try. But we've got evidence, Lauren's statement, the airline's report, even passenger testimonies. He's fighting a losing battle." Jamie looked uneasy. "What if he comes after us personally? His message said he knows people." Maria's eyes softened. "I've dealt with guys like him. He's all bluster. But we'll get a restraining order if he escalates." Alex felt a chill. This wasn't just about a courtroom, it was about protecting Noah. The advocacy group organized a rally outside the airline's New York headquarters, and Alex and Jamie agreed to speak. Hundreds showed up, a sea of rainbow flags and signs reading, "Families are families." Noah, perched on Jamie's shoulders, waved at the crowd, oblivious to the stakes. Alex took the mic, his voice steady despite his nerves. "We didn't start this to be heroes," he said. "We started it because our son deserves to be loved without shame. And so does every family." The crowd roared. But across the street, a smaller group of counter-protesters jeered, holding signs with slurs. Alex's stomach twisted, but he kept going. "Hate doesn't win unless we let it. We're here to say, not today." Jamie squeezed his hand, and for a moment, the world felt right. The rally made national news, and the airline announced a new scholarship for LGBTQ+ youth, funded by the Harper Initiative. Karen's law firm donated to the same cause, a move Alex suspected was more about PR than remorse. Kessler's firing was finalized, his career in ruins after more evidence of workplace bigotry surfaced. Chun, meanwhile, had started volunteering with an inclusivity nonprofit, a step Alex hoped was genuine. But Greg was relentless. His lawyer filed for a public apology and $500,000 in damages, claiming Alex and Jamie had ruined his reputation. Maria countered with a motion to dismiss, citing free speech and public interest. The judge, a stern woman with a reputation for fairness, set a hearing for the following month. "This is our chance," Maria said. "We'll bury him with the truth." In the meantime, Alex and Jamie tried to keep life normal for Noah. They took him to the zoo, read him bedtime stories, and celebrated his 4th birthday with a dinosaur-themed cake. But the stress was taking a toll. Alex's freelance work slowed. Some clients didn't want the controversy. Jamie's hospital shifts felt heavier, his colleagues whispering about their famous nurse. One night, Alex found Jamie staring at old photos of their adoption day. "Do you ever wish we'd stayed quiet?" Jamie asked, his voice barely audible. Alex sat beside him, taking his hand. "Sometimes. But then I think of Noah. If we don't fight, who will?" Jamie nodded, tears in his eyes. "I just want him to be safe." A breakthrough came unexpectedly. Sarah, the journalist, uncovered a bombshell. Greg's hedge fund had been investigated for insider trading, and his public rants about free speech had drawn scrutiny to his finances. Investors were fleeing, and his board was ready to cut ties completely. "He's imploding," Sarah said over the phone. "Keep the pressure on." Alex and Jamie worked with the advocacy group to amplify the story, sharing it on X without naming Greg directly. The response was overwhelming. People connected the dots, and Greg's name trended for all the wrong reasons. His lawsuit began to crumble as his credibility tanked. The hearing arrived, a tense morning in a Manhattan courthouse. Alex and Jamie sat in the gallery, Noah with Ellen back in Pasadena for safety. Greg's lawyer argued passionately, painting him as a victim of a vindictive campaign. Maria countered with calm precision, presenting Lauren's statement, the airline's report, and screenshots of Greg's own X posts, where he doubled down on his comments from the flight. The judge listened intently, her face unreadable. When she spoke, her words were sharp. "Mr. Harper and Mr. Thompson were exercising their right to speak out against discrimination. The evidence supports their account. This court finds no basis for defamation." The case was dismissed. Alex felt the air rush out of him. Jamie grabbed his hand, tears streaming down his face. They'd won. Greg stormed out, his lawyer trailing behind. Outside, supporters cheered, but Alex felt no joy, only relief. This chapter was over, but the fight wasn't. That night, they called Ellen and Tom, putting Noah on video chat. "Daddy's won," he chirped, waving a toy plane. Alex laughed, his heart lighter than it had been in months. They'd done it for Noah, for themselves, for every family who'd ever been told they didn't belong. The dismissal of Greg's lawsuit was a victory, but Alex couldn't shake the feeling that it wasn't the end. Brooklyn's winter chill mirrored the unease in his heart. Noah's laughter filled their apartment, but outside, the world was still divided. Their story had inspired thousands, but it had also made enemies. Alex scrolled through X late at night, against his better judgment, reading messages from strangers who called them heroes and others who called them monsters. Jamie noticed the strain. "You're not sleeping," he said one morning, pouring coffee. "We won. Alex, why can't you let it go?" Alex sighed, rubbing his eyes. "Because it's not just about us. It's about what Noah will face when he's older. What if we didn't do enough? Jamie took his hand. We've done more than most. Look at the Harper Initiative. Look at the families reaching out. We're making a difference. He was right. The airline's new policies were rolling out, with training sessions led by LGBTQ+ advocates. Lauren had been promoted to a trainer role, using her experience to teach crews how to handle discrimination. The scholarship fund had already supported 10 queer teens, and advocacy groups were pushing for federal protections inspired by their case. But Alex couldn't shake Greg's threat. I know people. It felt like a loose thread, waiting to unravel. Sarah called with an update. Greg's done, she said. His hedge fund fired him after the insider trading rumors. He's radioactive. No one will touch him. Alex felt a pang of guilt, quickly replaced by resolve. Greg had chosen to attack their family. His consequences were his own. Karen, too, was fading from relevance. Her law firm had rebranded, scrubbing her name from their history. Kessler was working a low-profile consulting gig, his tech career over. Chun, surprisingly, had become an advocate, speaking at inclusivity panels about her moment of weakness. Alex wasn't sure he trusted her change of heart, but he hoped it was real. Life slowly returned to normal. Alex took on new design clients, ones who admired his courage. Jamie's hospital threw a small event to honor his advocacy, with Noah stealing the show by toddling on stage. But the spotlight came with pressure. Advocacy groups wanted them to speak at more events, write a book, even star in a documentary. Alex and Jamie hesitated. They weren't activists, they were dads. One evening, they sat Noah down for a talk. At 4, he was too young to understand the full story, but they wanted him to know why they'd fought. Some people didn't like that you have 2 dads, Alex said, kneeling to his level. But we love you, and we're making sure everyone knows that's okay. Noah nodded, more interested in his toy dinosaur. Love you too, he said, and Alex's heart melted. The advocacy group invited them to a national conference in D.C., a chance to share their story with policymakers. Alex was reluctant. More travel, more exposure, but Jamie convinced him. This is bigger than us, he said. We can help change laws. So they went, leaving Noah with a trusted neighbor. The conference was electric. They met families like theirs, shared stories of triumph and pain. Alex spoke on a panel, his voice shaking at first but growing stronger. Our son didn't choose us, he said. We chose him. And we'll keep choosing to fight for a world where he's never shamed for who we are. The room erupted in applause, and Jamie beamed from the audience. But the trip wasn't without trouble. A small group of protesters picketed the event, their signs echoing the hate from the flight. Alex ignored them, but one face caught his eye. Greg. He stood at the back, arms crossed, staring daggers. Alex's pulse spiked, but he kept his cool. Security escorted Greg out, and Jamie pulled Alex close. He's nothing, Jamie whispered. Just noise. Back home, Maria had news. The airline had settled with them, offering a formal apology and a $100,000 donation to the Harper Initiative. It was a huge win, but Alex felt drained. The fight had taken months of their lives, strained their marriage, and exposed Noah to a world of hate. Was it worth it? That night, they got an email from a teen named Riley, one of the scholarship recipients. I'm trans, and my parents kicked me out. Riley wrote, your story gave me hope. I'm going to college because of you. Alex read it aloud, tears in his eyes. Jamie hugged him. This is why, he said. This is what we fought for. As winter turned to spring, Alex felt a shift. The hate mail slowed, and the support grew. They started a small blog, sharing updates about their family and the Harper Initiative. It wasn't flashy, but it was there's a way to keep the conversation going without losing themselves. Greg's name faded from the headlines. His threats empty. The world moved on. But Alex and Jamie didn't. They'd carved out a legacy, not just for Noah, but for every kid who needed to know love was enough. Spring bloomed in Brooklyn, the cherry blossoms painting the streets pink. Alex and Jamie took Noah to the park, watching him chase pigeons with boundless energy. The weight of the past year lingered, but it was lighter now. Their fight had changed the world in small, meaningful ways, and they were learning to live with the scars. The Harper Initiative was thriving. The airline's training program had expanded to other carriers, and the scholarship fund had grown, supporting dozens of LGBTQ+ youth. Alex and Jamie became advisors, quietly shaping its future. They didn't want fame, just impact. Noah, oblivious to it all, was starting preschool, his backpack emblazoned with a rainbow he'd picked out himself. One morning, a letter arrived from Chun. It was handwritten, a rarity in their digital world. "I was wrong," she wrote. "I let fear and ignorance guide me that day. I'm trying to do better, not just for you, but for everyone I hurt." She donated her bonus to an LGBTQ+ charity and was mentoring queer teens in her industry. Alex read it twice, unsure how to feel. Jamie smiled. "People can change," he said. "Not all of them, but some." Karen and Greg had faded into obscurity. Karen was working as a freelance consultant, her once glossy career a shadow. Greg's hedge fund had collapsed, and he'd moved to a smaller city, his name toxic in financial circles. Kessler was still consulting, but his social media was silent, his influence gone. Alex didn't gloat. It wasn't about winning. It was about accountability. The advocacy group invited them to a gala in New York, a celebration of their work. Alex and Jamie attended, Noah in a tiny suit. Stealing the show, Lauren was there, now a vocal advocate for airline reform. She hugged them both, tears in her eyes. "You changed everything," she said. Alex shook his head. "We all did." During the gala, a senator approached them, inspired by their story to sponsor a bill protecting families from discrimination in public spaces. It wasn't law yet, but it was a start. Alex felt a surge of pride, not for himself, but for Noah, who'd grow up in a world a little kinder because of them. Back home, life settled into a new rhythm. Alex's freelance business picked up, with clients drawn to his authenticity. Jamie was promoted to head nurse, his compassion a beacon at the hospital. They took Noah on small adventures, museums, beaches, ice cream shops, building memories untainted by hate. One evening, as they tucked Noah into bed, he asked, "Why do you and Daddy fight bad guys?" Alex laughed, caught off guard. Jamie knelt beside him. "Because we love you," he said. "And we want the world to love you too." Noah nodded, clutching his stuffed dinosaur, and drifted off. Later, on their balcony, Alex and Jamie watched the city lights. "Do you think we did enough?" Alex asked, his voice soft. Jamie kissed his temple. "We did more than enough. And we're not done." Alex smiled, leaning into him. The fight had cost them sleepless nights, angry words, moments of doubt, but it had given them something too, a legacy of love. Their story wasn't over. There'd be more battles, more glares, more whispers. But there'd also be more allies, more victories, more families like theirs standing tall. Alex thought of the note from the image prompt. Tucked into that suitcase, love defies hate. It was true then, and it was true now. As the stars blinked above, Alex took Jamie's hand. Noah was safe. Their family was whole. And the world was changing. One heart at a time. They'd face the worst and come out stronger. Whatever came next, they'd face it together, two dads, one son, and a love that refused to be shamed.